Hi, I'm about to do a major upgrade in my old early 2008 Mac Pro. RAM to get it up to fully 32 gigs of RAM. A new graphics card. Right now it's running the stock original that came with it. Upgrading it to a GeForce GTX 760. This is the reference card. Single fan. Needs two 6-pin power cables. I want to go to SSD storage, but to get more than the 3 gigabits that's possible on this bus, on this machine, going with the Apricorn adapter, which will go into PCI-Express slot so that we can get fully 6 gigabits. That will take 2 cards, one on board, one sitting somewhere else. This one is going to be the one sitting on the card. This is a 512 gig Samsung 840 Pro. And this will take a second card. I'm using 1 terabyte Samsung 840 EVO. And that needs power, and I plan to use one of the hard drive things. Finally, just for general storage, the Western Digital 4 terabyte black caviar hard drive. Well, and just now got the box with the new monitor. And very important, canned air, because I don't think I've opened this Mac like ever. Mac Pro, early 2008, 3.1. My desktop setup with the upgrade to Mavericks. Noticed that the graphics is quite sluggish, but it was already sluggish, even just paging through longer documents. And I want to be able to do some video editing. That doesn't seem to be feasible right now. I've already dusted off the Mac. Here you can see the back panel. The former video card with 2 DVI, whatchamacallit, outputs. And you can see that's the only card in there right now. We'll see just how easy this is. It's supposed to be pretty easy. Just flipping the switch and lifting off the back panel. And here we have the Mac Pro with the panel off. I've already got in here the card that came with it, GeForce something or other. Got 2 drives in there now, a 360 and a 1 terabyte. Here's where the RAM goes. Here are the cards that hold the memory, and the way they are installed and the labels on them tell us how to do that installation. See here the memory that came stock. Label says that these are 1 gigabyte modules, and that these here are 4 gigabyte modules. So we install them 2 at a time. We're keeping then the 4 gigabyte ones. I'll simply suck it up and jettison the 1 gigabyte ones, and we're going to fill the remaining slots with 4 gigabyte modules. I'm doing a lot of upgrades here, and it just seems to me that it might be wise to do them 1 at a time. That is, I will boot up the machine in between installing the various things. So first, I will do the extra memory. The old memory pops out easily enough. There are these levers on the side. They're simply pulled out, and they unplug the memory and make it so that I should simply be able to, lift it straight off. No resistance whatsoever. After I get these out, I will, as I have already done with the others, dust out the sockets from which they came. So here's one of the new modules, fresh out of the plastic. The connections on the bottom are asymmetric, so the shorter one goes on the right, and those slide easy peasy into each slot. Click the levers at the same time, using even pressure, so 2 hands. Just as they went in, these should present no resistance whatsoever. Easy, easy. Should not have to force them whatsoever. Should fall into place. As for clicking the levers, some modest effort is required. We need to support the back of the panel. Fingers at the same time clicking the levers for check. There we go. A little bit of kerchunk as they fit into place. Now let's check it out at 32 gigs of 800 megahertz DDR2 FB-DIMM in the memory. Now proceeding to the next most straightforward thing, I'm going to install the new 4 terabyte hard drive. These just come right out. So we can see on the back of the drive there are these 4 bolt holes and matching bolts on the bracket. Now, one of the things we'll be testing is whether I can do this whole installation with simply a Leatherman. And so far, although these Phillips heads are fairly tiny, the Phillips head driver on the Leatherman seems to do splendidly. Alright, all bolted on. We should simply slide easily on the runners there into place with a pleasing kerchunk. Boot it up nicely, but then we have this little message that says the disk you inserted was not readable by this computer. Eject, ignore, or initialize. Let's go to initialize. Here's the disk utility. Click on the new drive. Go to erase. Mac OS extended journaled name big HDD. Set to Mac OS journal. Blah blah blah. Erase. And here we see the new drive is there. Here we've got the Apricorn adapter card. This is the Apricorn Velocity Solo X2. It's got 4 little screws that come with it with which to attach the drive. And this Samsung 512 gigabyte 840 Pro is going to be my boot drive after I get it set up. So here's the Samsung 512 gigabyte 840 Pro. First amazing thing is just how light it is compared to that hard drive I just put in. Got the plugs on this end, and they match the plugs there. We simply slide her into place, ka-chunk, and then commence with the little screws which go into the back holes there. Again, Phillips head on the Leatherman is just fine for the job. Nice and snug. 2 thumb screws on this bracket here. They do have little Phillips heads on them. I used the Leatherman Phillips head screwdriver to get them started. Simply pop out. They're connected by springs, which is pretty nifty. It's a bit awkward getting in there, so that just comes right out. Let's just pull out the doohickey that covers the thingy. Straight off, yes. Easy. On the MacPro early 2008, there are 4 PCI slots. The top 2 are ×4, the bottom 2 are ×16. So in order to get maximum benefit out of this, I'm going to put it into the other X16. It's fairly straightforward. Put this back. Hold things in place. I've got the new SSD in the computer. It's just fine, formatted, and I've formatted it with a single partition called boot SSD. And now I need to restart the computer using the recovery partition so that I can clone my startup drive. Booting from the recovery partition gets me to this point. I'm selecting disk utility. I'm going to drag the Macintosh HD to the source, drag the boot SSD to the destination, and click Restore, Erase, and away we go. Alright, so next day, and now we see that the SSD is now called Macintosh HD, because I've copied the other Macintosh HD to it. Now reboot. So while I was still in the Restore Boot mode, I went up to the menu, selected Startup Disk, and selected the new SSD version of Macintosh HD. And now I need to rename CD/volumes ls-l. So that shows us the Mac boot SSD is indeed providing the link to root, in other words, just the slash. We can do some benchmarking here. Select target drive, let's go for the old one first. There we go. Alright, that's enough of that. That's the old one. And the new one. So almost an order of magnitude improvement. Not quite, but close. And here we go. Is again the open box. There's the old graphics card. Here's the new graphics card. Taking the little tension bracket out. Gotta get the power cable off of here. The power cable has this little doohickey here. You have to push that down enough to get it to uncatch. Card should slide right out. So unlike some of the Mac Pros I've seen that have a retention bracket in here that slides back, these have these little tabs. You basically have to push up to release this hook. There's the old card. Not bad looking for its day, I suppose. Here is the new card. Should go in smoothly and fit just below SSD card adapter. So there's the new card in place. Unfortunately, the little tab broke while I was trying to get it in. Don't let this happen to you. It's a very big deal, but unfortunate nonetheless. Now I've got powered up. It looks like the old cable's too short. I will remove that and use the new cables. To report that this is easy, but it's not. These plugs are just out of the way enough to be difficult to reach and difficult to see. And when you're trying to reach, you cannot see. So you're reduced to feeling around, which doesn't work very well. You see, I've gotten one of them in. Getting the second one in is proving to be a bit difficult. And there we go. Both of those are now plugged in. Should be this right here. So there we go. New graphics card in under the new SSD converter card. Nice part about having a reference card with only the one fan is that the fans are not blocked by the card sitting on top. With the bracket screwed back into place, we're ready to put the back on and fire it up. So I got a couple of benchmarks for the new graphics, etc. Here's the Luxmark score on the SATA scene, 515. Also NovaBench score is for the whole computer 1174. The graphics test score is 331, 3 frames per second, 1334, which seems pretty ripping. I'm going to run the X bench for you, just running the graphics related tests. Says we got Quartz graphics test scores 297.82, your OpenGL graphics test 203.33 frames per second, user interface test element 1.15 kilo refresh per second. I just got my magic trackpad, which is usually oriented this way, but it's not necessarily a comfortable position when I've got my gel thing here. So I'm curious to see if I can turn it upside down, which I read in a review that I can. And to do that, I type in this command on the command line, sudo defaults right com.apple.multitouch support force audio orientation yes. Little magic mouse. Upgrade for now is going to be the new monitor, which is one of these Dells. You take a DVI, VGA, or DisplayPort. It's got some USB ports there, both the upstream and the downstream. You got a DisplayPort cable. And there's the new screen real estate situation. Computer over to countertop there, make room to move monitor over there, and put new monitor in the middle. Alright, there it is, the new desktop. Plenty of real estate. New pictures to make it all new and spiffy. Sweet. So we've got the solid state drive, the power extension cable, and this end of the extension cable, which goes in here. It fits right like that. And the data cable has a similar fit and goes right there with a nice click. Well, sports fans, interesting development here. I not naively, I did a fair amount of research into what exact cord would I need. And I don't know where, but I came up with this one, which seems logical enough, right? It's got a female end, which attaches to the male end here, and then a male end, which would attach to the female in the drive bay, if that's what I were trying to do. So I'm trying to attach it to this adapter card, which oddly enough has a male end on the data plug for the second drive. I have to get a different cable. So watch out, everybody. That's the deal. These adapter cards from Apricorn do not have places where the card can plug in. They have a male plug, as does the SSD drive. They're male to male, so you need a female-female cable. I'm going to try an interim solution here, because I'm tired of waiting to reorganize the storage space in my computer. My temporary solution, a Velcro cable gatherer, so that just keeps it from flopping down, and we've got everything at least plugged in for now. The box is back in its place. The computer is proceeding to boot up. And as you can see, we go straight to the desktop rather than having the gray screen with the Apple because of the non-Mac card. So we have the complaint on screen. The disk you inserted was not readable by this computer. We have the option to initialize, which is what we do. It goes to the disk utility, where we have our 1 terabyte Samsung SSD 840 EVO 1T. And storage SSD to erase, yes, erase, and there we go. Notice that the owner and group on the new drives was all me, so I'm changing that all to root and admin. Now we have root admin except for the original wheel group on the original partitions.